Hello and welcome to another episode of The Modern Nerd. I am Sir Slice,
I'm merchandise.
And I'm GJC.
and we are, as always, massive nerds. So, we come to you today off the heels of last week we did House of the Dragon, if I recall. Go check that one out. We had it was a conversation. I think we had a good time talking about it. Whether or not we think it's a good show is up to determine. But today we are not talking about that, so we will not have as much of an angry smirch as usual.
That's not
So,
true. I'm just kidding.
No,
today we're going to. Now, last week we also did some D23. We talked a little bit about a couple things that we saw. We're going to talk a little bit more about a couple of other trailers that came out, some announcements, that kind of stuff. And we're also going to go over, if you couldn't tell, She-Hulk. Um, so, let's go into She-Hulk. Let's just dive into the show.
We left off on which episode?
I honestly don't remember. I think it was at least the first two.
Oh, we didn't get to the Megan Thee Stallion episode.
No.
Okay,
We did
let's
not
start
get
there.
that one.
Let's start there. Then.
And
Perfect.
So we did the Megan Thee Stallion one, the dating episode, and
the magic.
the last episode that we just
Oh no, and we missed the Leblansky
copyright
trial.
episode.
did we miss the Leblansky?
Yeah, no, and then there's the
Leblansky.
Leblansky episode. Man, we missed a lot.
Leblansky.
We've missed a
French
lot,
now.
actually.
Oh, Leblansky. That's not even close. So no, we did see the meal. We talked about it because we talked about the people that were
okay.
Like the witness.
we
and
didn't do
everything
Megan
for
Thee Stallion?
show. No. So that oh my god, that was a while ago. That episode was the one where there was the shape-shifting elf who was who was dating the complete douchebag, the biggest douchebag in the show ever, who believed he was dating Megan Thee Stallion, which is ridiculous. What else happened in that episode? Do you guys remember? That was like 3 or 4 episodes ago. I feel like there's just takeaways from each episode, unfortunately, as opposed to like lasting impressions of the story overall for me. But I do remember that court drama with that one. I say court drama. There's really not a lot of drama in the show. It's mostly
like courtroom shenanigans.
Yeah,
it's funny.
Procedural.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's more comical than anything else. But it was kind of like well done in the fact that like she used his own hubris to go against him, to be like, this guy is the biggest tool and douche that would totally believe that he was dating Megan Thee Stallion because he thinks he's that great, even though he's not, which I thought was entertaining. Anytime they take that guy down, I'll be a happy camper.
That is the episode with Emil, actually. That's what happened. Is Emil and Megan Thee Stallion were on the same episode.
And
Wong, yeah, that's episode 3.
Okay, yeah, and so they had the trial for appeal on Emil Blonsky's court case, his to get out, and essentially it all came down to Wong's testimony, for that matter, to show that he, took him out for a battle in. What was that, Macau? I think that was
Yes, Macau.
when Shang-Chi went to go find his sister. And so I think there was a couple of good bits. You got to see Tim Roth do a little bit more with the character, and show how he's changed a little, and he's like in control, and he like changes into Abomination at the end, and everyone's like, what the hell? Like freaking out and everything, which I thought was super entertaining. But overall, I mean, I like that episode. I thought that was a pretty good one. It's interesting to see like if they do anything with these elves, if any of these characters that they just drop in and introduce are anybody in the future.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I think it's also funny because like we've obviously seen dark elves before in Thor 2, and then the idea is, I guess if they're dark elves, there must be light elves. Like you just automatically like that makes sense. And then maybe like my assumption was that like light elves would be like more like elves in Lord of the Rings, and somehow more like, you know, I don't know,
I
just
mean,
a little more
they are.
dignified and
They
good
are. It's
guyish
just this
and
one
not
is not.
mischievous. But then like I love that this light elf is totally like whatever. She's like a trickster and she's running around
Yeah.
impersonating Megan Thee Stallion and other people, and telling
and then
people about how he
impersonates a
likes to
judge.
sexually harass people, and then like the office girls are all like, "What?" Like it's
Yeah.
just it's a funny take. That's I kind of really appreciated that.
Yeah, when she impersonates the judge.
Yeah, who's
Yeah.
impersonates the
I
judge?
dismiss all charges. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a funny show, you know. I mean, they do the comedy well.
I'm
Whether or
enjoying the
not
show.
you think She-Hulk should have been twerking, I mean, I don't know.
Dude, don't even get me started, man. I'm trying not to feel the anger today, but like that was the thing until the recent freaking the mermaid, Little Mermaid shit has been hitting the fan. That was what everyone talked about, and the meme going around, Iron Man died for this. And I'm just like, damn fucking right he died for this. He died for women to do whatever the fuck they want to do. Like, chill the fuck out, man.
True.
Like, anyway, that's
No, no, you're right.
Was it
Dan.
necessary? No, but it was entertaining. You know, it
It was
was
gonna
necessary.
happen. I
I
feel
gonna
like
have Megan Thee Stallion in an episode and not like do a little bit of something. Like, come on, you
Right.
gotta like. So like that's I
think-
think it was great.
look
I
at three dudes' opinions is really not going to change the internet. But
No,
you know.
but
I'm not
I
trying
mean-
to change the internet. I'm trying to say like they had fun and it was
Exactly.
harmless. It was a post credit scene. If we're gonna sit here getting angry about post credit scenes, let's talk about ants playing drums. That's what I want to talk about.
I mean, but who cares?
No
Why
ant
are you
belongs on a drum kit. I'm being
You're
sarcastic.
peeking. You're peeking. What?
Are you trying to
peeking.
silence me, Tim? Seems like Tim's trying to do the silencing thing.
I'm trying to
are
not
you one of those
destroy-
people, Tim?
I'm trying not to destroy my headphones because it's peaking.
Never mind.
What was the next episode? We had it was the fake magic episode with the guy who steals the sling ring, the magician, and the dating episode where
Donnie
she makes
Blaze.
a Donnie Blaze, where she also makes a dating profile as She-Hulk, and shows really what it's like for women to date. I mean, I thought that was an interesting metaphor, and showed that it's like, you know, shallow men out there, and especially that guy who she did end up dating, you know, going on the date with and then bringing home and everything, where he was like super into her as She-Hulk, and then like as soon as she's Jen Walter, he's like, oh no, I want nothing to do with you. And I'm like, wow, that's like the shallowest, lowest thing that's happened. And like
Yeah.
he still appears to be like, he's in a later episode and he still appears to be like trying to be a good guy. And I'm like, no, you're not a good guy, dude, just because you're repping up this woman as She-Hulk, but then like shitting on her as who she is. She is Jen Walters.
No,
And it's
he was
just
never shitting on her. He was stating he had a preference over one of the other. And to him,
I
they're
think
two
that's the
different
thing is like when the person that quote unquote, you could say, well, the person he fell in love with or had a connection with was
people. Right.
She-Hulk.
Like if you were with someone and all of a sudden they changed to be this completely
Yeah,
different
like that's the person that
I'd
he
go,
had the
"Oh,
connection with. It
this
wasn't
person
to him.
is
That's
not-"
the person he had the connection with, not
I
Jen
don't
Walters.
see it that way.
Well, because we have the unique perspective of seeing that she is both She-Hulk and Jen. To
Right.
him, it was just one person. Like if you were dating someone,
How-
all of a
how
sudden-
you think
Okay, how
that's
about here's the
one
question
person?
then?
There's
Here's the question,
no way
Tim.
You think that's one
Here's
person.
the question.
You
Okay,
saw
if you
her change in the first
let's
episode.
take the She-Hulk.
You know
equation-
she's two people.
No,
We
stop.
did. I'm not
Let's
saying-
let's
I'm
take
talking-
the She-Hulk
every-
equation out of this, okay?
No, wait, hold on. She changed live on television. That was a televised court moment, and
Oh.
it's shown that Jen Walters is She-Hulk. This person knew that this was not one Hulk. It was Jen Walters as a bigger green person.
You didn't see it. I don't know.
There's no way in
I
this
have a
narrative. There's
question,
no way
like-
that anyone doesn't
You are
know the
assuming
answer
that
to this
every single
question.
person in the world watches this exact newscast. You can't assume that.
I mean, but in this narrative, you have to kind of assume that this is like the talk of the town for the time being.
She's relatively
That's-
new and unknown. I would say that like it's like knowing that there's a She-Hulk out there.
It's a
You
doctor.
might not
Doctors
necessarily
don't
know
have time for
everything
as much
about-
as we do. Like they're working around the clock. I don't know.
I just,
Yeah.
I don't. I think
I'm not saying
it
you're wrong. I'm just trying to provide a perspective.
Yeah,
I just think it was handled poorly, especially in the following episode of the court case,
But I mean, he
where
admitted
like
that he's like, I don't have anything against Jen. I just the person that I had the connection was the She-Hulk. Like I want to take it and like put it on another shoe. Is like if like let's say you were somebody, I don't know, whoever a romantic interest of Spider-Man was, and they fell in love with Spider-Man while Peter Parker was in the suit doing some crime busting, and then like, do you think that person has to fully accept that they're in love with also the person underneath the mask when it's Peter Parker by day? Like, wouldn't you say there's a justification that person had the connection with Spider-Man and not Peter Parker?
I would.
I would not, because especially with that character, Peter is very much a part of who Spider-Man is. Like the persona, she doesn't change who she is when she's 6 feet tall and green. She's the same fundamental human being person. He's attracted to her physically. The mental connection that they had, that's Jen. That is not a different mental person.
Sure,
He connected on a mental level with Jen Walters, and then as soon as he sees her with quote unquote without her makeup on, he's like, "I'm out of here.
I understand
Never mind.
that.
I'm good."
I definitely understand
so, like,
that.
the connection was there.
But I also have a question: is have you ever seen the show? It's called Catfish.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's different. There was not a
well, that's a very. I mean, how are you going to tell me that's different? She literally made a dating profile of somebody who, of a different physical characteristic, a totally different dating profile as like representing herself as She-Hulk. Like that is like, do you know what I'm saying? Like
she's both. You have to, if you want to be with one, you have to accept the
sure,
whole.
I definitely understand, and I think from our perspective and being able to see it from her perspective, I totally understand. But also from his perspective, I think that you need. I'm not saying he's right, or I'm not saying he's wrong, but you need to get. I feel like there's a little bit of leeway and more like understanding on his part too.
George are all on the same level. Like we agreed, like that's messed up because we know her story.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
We see it from her perspective. And so me seeing that, like, yeah, like what the hell, dude? But like the truth of the matter is when you're in a relationship with someone, you are attracted to, like, we're used to being attracted to one certain thing. And maybe it's as simple as he's just not that attracted to Jen, and he's more attracted to She-Hulk.
Yeah, like he's not physically attracted to Jen.
To be in a relationship, like you can't act like that's not a factor. So that's
being you're being naive to say that physical characteristics have nothing to do with it.
At the very base level, at the very least, that's a factor.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I don't think. I mean, I would disagree. I think, there's no circumstance in which this really can be played out truthfully. You know what I mean? There's no circumstance currently where someone is bulky and huge and then suddenly looks 3 feet shorter than what they actually are. It's like it's an extreme. It's
definitely a hard line to walk. I totally understand that.
I think he's lying. I think he doesn't. It's not about connections. I think you're right. He had a connection with She-Hulk and therefore had a connection with Jen.
Right.
But I think you're not wrong. He is kind of being a D-bag in that he's just attracted to this version of Jen and not
the other version. Right.
Yeah. And that's just how it is. And I mean,
I
is
just think
is that a douchebag move? I don't think so. I think it's just he's trying to be honest about his preference. You're right. He should be more aware and he should be more accepting of the fact that there are two people. But I also think he was trying to be honest, and that comes off not looking so great.
Right.
So
I mean, I have a hard time not arguing it, but like, we don't have the same perspective as someone in this situation. We have the male perspective. We don't have a female perspective on this situation. There's something more that's happening here that women have had to deal with, and that's what I feel like this writer is trying to get across is that women get out there and try and be themselves, and it's just all nothing. You saw like
you think it's like symbolic of like not accepting like a certain part of this who's clearly a whole person.
Yeah, something like that.
I get that. That's not.
There's more to it,
but I definitely think that's that's a good
Right. I just don't
Because you know
think.
it shows that she gets no response on essentially Tinder,
Yeah.
from Jen Walters. Gets like no matches whatsoever.
which
She got one
I don't.
match, and she went
Yeah,
on a date,
I know.
and then she essentially has to cave into societal measures and puts on an appearance on social media as people do because it looks it's a she goes out as She-Hulk and suddenly everyone wants something to do with her. Whereas like you see like I feel like it's a take on social media influencers
Of
who are
course.
like two different lives where it's like, people look very different on social media than they do in real life. And then like that's the narrative she's trying to talk about. But that's just me. I'm interpreting something here that may be deeper than what it is, and she may just be trying to write someone as like a
That's
D-bag.
from that sense. That's a good point of view. It's just hard to.
Yeah. I don't think. Okay, he's obviously like I think one of the things that's redeeming about this guy is that at least he's like willing to admit he's like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but like I was attracted to She-Hulk, right? Like he plainly puts that out there. Like even now that he understands that Jen and She-Hulk are the same person, like,
but even
you can't take away the physical, like to dismiss that part. The physical aspect of it is to be naive.
you know
Do you know what I'm saying? To dismiss his physical attraction towards the She-Hulk would be naive, right? Like, that's just the person that, yes, he also had a connection to her personality, and that actually played a big part of it. But to just dismiss the physical part of it is being naive. Like, that's not how the real world works.
It also is
regardless of if it's a Marvel universe or not.
Right.
So
no, it's true. I completely agree with you.
He was just being honest. He's like, not only was I personally like had an actual personal connection with the personality of who She-Hulk was, but also I had a physical attraction. And I'm going to be honest with you, Jen Walters when she's Jen and Jen Walters when she's She-Hulk have a slightly different personality. Even though she's in control, and she's in control in the sense that like Bruce Banner and was not in control of Hulk, like she's in control in that sense, and she's able to control her moves. Her personality is totally different because she's more confident. She likes the way she talks to people. Everything about her is almost different, actually. To dismiss the changes that she goes through in her personality, going from Jen to She-Hulk, would be completely dismissing the point of the whole entire show, because that's like the whole Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde aspect of it. Like, she's still that is still what a Hulk is. Despite the fact that she's in control and she's not rampaging, she's a different personality. You can't say she's the same person almost, because when she's Jen, she's confident, she's got swagger, she's like
other way around,
she's totally different. No, I mean, yeah, when she's Hulk, she's totally different than she is Jen sometimes. Jen is timid. Jen is like shy. Jen is like unsure of herself. And you can't say that like he's not attracted to the confidence that a She-Hulk puts out.
Sure.
I agree, but it kind of goes back to what me and Tim were talking about. Like, does this guy know that She-Hulk is also Jen Walters? It kind of hinges on that. And I think Tim is right. Like, it would be all he had to do is a quick Google search to like see that she was clearly like not just She-Hulk all the time, and for him to like immediately write off Jen Walters is like oh no. I don't know. It seemed like he didn't know when she was back in her original form. So if he didn't know truly, then I guess it's all right. But it still is kind of like, I don't know. It's hard. That's all it hinges on. Did he know or didn't he know?
He's not in the right. I'm not giving him a pass. He obviously, I think there's definitely things to say bad about him. But I think it's to dismiss like a lot of the other parts of it is to like I'm sorry to say you're not really paying attention to the show, because you see the personality change she has on top of the physical change she has when she's She-Hulk as well.
Sure,
so,
I don't think that he was written to be like a redeemable character, though, in my opinion. And didn't he like?
I'm not sure.
Didn't he like in the trial in the next episode kind of be like, if if he implied he would like to date She-Hulk but not Jen again? Like, Was
I
that
think
not
I think yeah, more or less. I don't
But I
remember
mean, he could
exactly.
come
but to
around it.
like to say that to another person and be like, "Oh, you know, if you want to change into She-Hulk and then we can go on a date." That's horrible. I am not a woman. I have not had to deal with this, but women have had to deal with that shit for decades. And to have someone say that to them, even her friend in that in that what is it, fourth or fifth episode, when they have that trial, is like, what you had to go through with that guy is horrible. Like,
Yeah.
it's not written to be like a redeemable, like, oh well, he didn't know. Like, it's supposed to be. This is like a uh, what is it? What's that word? Leading someone on. Come on. Um, Gaslighting.
Hmm.
Like basically just kind of like he does he's not a good person to do that, you know what I mean, to be like, oh, like if you want to dismiss that entire second half of your personality, I'll date you. Like, that's fucked up, you know. If that
If
happened,
that
I
is
can't
what happened,
remember if it did. If it is what happened,
I
someone will have
think
to, you know, check me on that one,
I think
internet.
there's different ways it can
um
play out, right? Like if it's like he actually comes to terms with the fact that like, and he really starts to understand that these they're the same person, and that Jen and She-Hulk are, and he's willing to accept that, maybe he could be a redeemable person and he can grow as a character if that's somebody
I
they
think
want to bring
Honestly, I
back.
don't think he's
But
coming back.
I don't think he's coming
So
back. We're putting a lot of
it
thought
would
into
be
somebody who we like
Right.
really, but in
No,
the way it's funny. It's good to put yourself in that situation, and that
I
is like
think
kind of the controversy behind the show is like
I
the
think Tim
viewpoints of men and women when it comes to things like this.
right. I think
Yeah.
Tim brought a great perspective into this, and I think that it is more or less a commentary on like men wanting women to be a certain way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's unfortunately I didn't view it as such until now, which I'm grateful for. I was just kind of like, well, She-Hulk and Jen sort of kind of are like two different people, even though they aren't.
A
But
little.
in that sense, like for him to say like, I wish you would, you know, I would date this person and not the other one. Like, I think that is also commentary on like nice guys who think they're nice but actually are just being jerks.
Douchebags. Yeah.
Nailed it on that
So,
one.
so I think that is what that was for sure, especially that second time around.
If I was Tony
Yeah.
Stark, I'd offer you a blueberry. There you go.
So I think that's what that was. But yeah, I don't know. I think we need to move on to the next episode. We have talked.
Yeah. The next episode was funny. I enjoyed that last, because this is the last episode that came out last week, where it was definitely for me the focal was like, why are you dressing like, what did they say? Why are you
Oh
why are you
wait, can I
dressing like
talk about three
like
quick things
ex-NFL
before we
star
move
up
on?
for a parole hearing or something?
Can we do
She
three
was
quick
like,
things before we move on? Is
Yeah.
that before the three funny Easter eggs? David Otunga,
Yeah.
dude, was one of the people who was dating She-Hulk. David Otunga, who they called onto the
apparently-
stand.
It's all about the power.
It's all about
shocked he
David
got work
Otunga, who you
in
don't
this
know is a
show, because-
WWE wrestler who used to be married to Jennifer Hudson. So
Yeah, that did not end amicably.
it did
If
not
we
end
recall
amicably.
their
Yeah,
relationship, he was
Yeah.
a piece of shit. in
apparently,
that
but he was in this episode,
which is an interesting
Um,
choice to put in an episode about dating, because he notoriously, I think, was an abuser in the relationship.
there was
with
definitely
Jennifer Hudson.
allegations, I believe.
Yeah, so like to have him in there kind of made me angry, to be honest, because
Yeah.
like, fuck this guy.
It
Like,
was
are you
really
shitting me?
random. I was like, what? David Otunga?
I did
It
not
was
know.
really super random. They're
It's
just like,
super
get,
random.
get physique dudes in here, and
Yeah, they probably.
got that guy.
Anyways,
Other Easter egg.
Donnie Blaze, obviously a call out to Johnny Blaze.
No, he is not a call out to Johnny Blaze.
No?
Donnie
No?
Blaze is a different character,
Well,
an actual.
the name is
character, I
incredibly
believe.
similar to Johnny Blaze. I don't know. How you can't? I don't know. That just feels like a
Yeah.
real nod.
It'd be hard to not think of that. Like,
Yeah, it'd be hard not to think that, even if he's a totally different character in Marvel as well, who's like only been in one comic that like came out 40 years ago. Anyways, his assistant though is the guy from Hunger Games who gets shot. He's the old man who gets shot when she goes on in the second Hunger Games.
I immediately recognized this gentleman as
What?
the eccentric director from Entourage,
Oh.
he was one of the stand. Like Entourage was full of either good actors or very bad actors, and he was a really good actor. He was a very like kind of like overly eccentric director, and he was very good. And he's fun in this. You know, it's kind of
Yeah,
like
he's really funny. And then there's a part where Wong says, "Guan Yin, give me like strength." Guan Yin is like a small little like. For those who don't know, Guan Yin is like, she's like our Saint Mary in like Chinese Chinese like god mythology. It's like, you know, you pray to Saint Mary or whatever. Like Guan Yin is like the Chinese version of that. So it's really funny that they had Wong like randomly just pray to like Mary. Like
Wong is the Hershey's Kiss of the world. Like every time we see him,
they even admit it on the show. Like she's like, "Yeah, but Wong's back. Like I see you saw him. You're
like,
happy,
like,
right?"
hey, it's Wong. I like Wong. Wong is cool. He is cool. He's very good. And
He's a
very
cool
happy.
dude. I hate to say it, his cool pass that he's got has made everyone around him cool. And just by him being in the show, she is cool by almost association. Does that make sense?
Sure, I don't know, not really, but
If Wong gives you the nod, you know, like the nod, that means like you're a cool kid because he's the cool kid in school.
we're gonna talk about this. Can we talk about nodding in television and how it's taken over? How like instead of like people saying something, everyone just kind of goes. Like,
They just do it. They just.
Someone pointed that out to me, and like in a Game of Thrones episode, and for the rest of the series, I was just like, oh my god, there is so much nodding in Game of Thrones alone.
Okay, sorry, those were my tangents. I'm done. Anyway, I apologize.
Did we even talk about Madison, who's on
Madison.
our background, who was just absolutely hilarious?
Hilarious.
Madison
We all know that
with
girl.
two
We
N's
all
and a
know that
Y,
girl.
and it's not where you think.
We all know that
my
girl.
God.
She's
Yeah,
always kind of drunk, and then she's always trying to spoil things, and you're like, "No,
That
Madison,
end credit
no,
scene was hilarious.
no,
Yeah.
Madison, spoiling
I
everything."
saw the same the movie she listed out for Wong at the post credits. I saw exactly what Wong has seen. And the things he hadn't seen, I had not seen. I thought that was
That's funny. All right, so the next episode, I'm trying to
She-Hulk
think of the meat and potatoes.
trademark.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Titania trademark, which I thought was a clever angle. To be
Very
honest,
clever.
if you're going like procedural, a courtroom, like bring the superhero element into the courtroom. Bring it about bring her, who was like the first person that she became She-Hulk back around into the 5th episode, and have it be about her trying to steal the thunder and use the gains off of the name.
Do you think anyone else tried to trademark their own names or did trademark any of their own names that aren't like? Did Tony ever? Do you think he ever? I think Tony's legal team would have been smart enough to trademark Iron Man after he said "I am." Pepper must have sent somebody to do that. That I believe in. But like anybody else, do you think like Hawkeye or like any
Captain America?
Well, Captain America is a United States owned name.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess they dubbed
that's
him
why
Captain
they're
America.
allowed to give it to
it's
people.
The same concept, I guess.
Right.
I don't know if it's trademarked or anything like that.
Yeah, well,
I do like that they were like, "Oh, did Doctor Strange do it?" And
yeah,
they're
right.
Like, you just
that is a question.
To two people who use their actual names. And
it's funny that she's like the first person
hilarious.
to have to get in trouble or have to face it in a court of law, probably. But I wonder if anyone else had the foresight to do that.
It's
like what? Poor her. Like
sure.
why? Like poor her. Did Hulk ever have to do it? Because like.
So you got that. What?
Just like if Hulk had a trademark, is like the first and foremost thing you should think about. Does Hulk have a trademark?
Yeah.
No talk.
No.
No idea.
I think they brought up like good case, and and then it comes back to the whole dating scene, because it was the hinging part of like her using the name She-Hulk to then gain control, like self-identifying as She-Hulk. So I thought that was an interesting way to do it, and it came around pretty well. But my favorite parts of this episode were the dynamic duo of her legal, what was her name? What's her title? Her legal assistant, and the other guy that works in the office, the other lawyer, who go and try and find the,
got the shoes.
They go to try and find the guy about the shoes, and then find the superhero stuff. I thought they were hilarious.
Drip.
To like when they're like in front of the
drip
security
broker.
camera, they're like dancing because they got in, and he's like, "We can still see you," and I just thought they were funny together. and then it brought up, like they're making her new suits, obviously regular suits that it can expand and everything, but he's throwing in that purple and white suit for underneath everything. I was a little sad that we didn't get to, like, he hands it in and then, like, she's like, "Oh, this is amazing," and then you don't get to see it real quick at the end, which is
There,
fine. Big reveal
we
next
all know
episode.
why. We're
Yeah,
waiting for the money shot when she lands, and we can
yeah,
pan up from the feet down.
yeah.
Dramatic reveal. It's fine.
And then they had the cameo, the mini cameo of him designing the
The
Daredevil
mask
suit.
cameo.
Yeah, yeah. Um, which is, I thought it was cool. I freaked out, and my thing is, I love that stuff. I'm super excited for Daredevil. And there are a lot of, like, supporting characters in this show, where you got Wong, Titania, who's a new character, but Blonsky, we're going to see Daredevil. Who else are we going to see? Like, is it going to muddy the waters with cameos that we talk about the Daredevil suit, we talk about DD, we talk about Blonsky, we talk about Wong more than we talk about She-Hulk? And so far we're doing fine. I think it's okay. It's a nice even keel, a nice balance to, the show, where you still have enough content in the show for She-Hulk, and then it's still a smattering of cameos. I think the big one obviously is the Daredevil, because he's being reintroduced slowly into the universe, which is going to ultimately overshadow, I think, her, unfortunately, because it is a good show. I'm enjoying it. I wish they were longer. I'm just gonna say that. But
I know why they're this length too. They're
yeah,
this
I
length
mean,
because this is the length of,
30-minute
like, a
drama.
typical, like, courtroom drama, like sitcom.
No, they're usually an hour. If you go and watch a lot of them, they're about an hour. Law and Order, like all these
Sure.
types of things that have stuff, they're all an hour.
Well, how long
But
is this?
it's like 30 minutes.
Oh yeah, it's a little
They're
bit
all
shorter,
about
I guess. So
30 minutes.
I guess you would
Yeah.
want, like, a 45-minute episode as opposed to,
I
like,
didn't want
30.
give me an hour. There's no
I mean,
commercials, but hey, look, it's fine. Everyone else has gotten longer, and look, we're getting more episodes, but they're shorter. Fine. It's fine. It's just, I'm nitpicking at that point for the timing. It's not a big deal. I think it works in this format.
the
I
pacing's
like
fine.
it. I like more. Yeah, they're quick, which is nice. I guess actually WandaVision were 30-minute episodes as well.
Yeah.
30-ish.
It's true.
But
they didn't feel that short though. They felt
They
complete.
don't feel short.
These feel short, which maybe is a testament to these, in that they're doing a good job, and then we want to keep watching more.
Yeah, the pacing is very good.
It's an interesting. I don't know. Tim brought up, are we muddying the waters with cameos and losing focus of actual shows? And it's really hard for me to answer that, because I think I can speak for most of us when I say, as Marvel fans, like, we live for that shit. Like, we're junkies, and we want more. Like, give us more. Like, and I gotta say, like, as a whole, this phase, it's kind of different, because it's been with television, and both Loki and WandaVision were very good. But aside from, I don't know if you count the Spider-Man movie and Shang-Chi, like, everything else has been kind of just either, like, okay or not very good. And so we don't, like, at times like this, like I'm not ripping on She-Hulk. I like it, but it's not like it's I think it's important to have things like this, because we want. They're struggling through this phase, man. The movies have not been good. I think in some ways a lot of them were worse than, like, most of phase, like the very first phase. And I'm concerned about future movies moving forward. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but I think the more cameos, the better, because hopefully that'll keep fans invested long enough until maybe the movies start to shape up. Because otherwise, I don't know what else. Like, it's hard. I don't want to rip in the show. I do like it, but I think we need things like cameos to keep us Marvel fans invested. Granted, our standards are higher, and I'm no exception to that. I think mine more than anyone else's, but I think we gotta. Yeah, that's like most of the fun. I kind of wish it wasn't such a big deal when characters would show up in single episodes. I kind of almost
I think
feel
that's what they're trying to do.
I hope so. I don't know. Like it's like
I
here's a Thor movie, and we're gonna get
here
only Thor and no one else. Let's let's
there's
loosen the boundaries a little. Like let's get some more people and like have it be a regular thing
Well,
and not such a big deal. I don't know.
I think that they did that a lot in the last one. You know, I mean, the Captain America movie, Civil War, which obviously, you know, there was everyone in it, and then Thor Ragnarok had, Hulk in it, and then you know you get even like Captain Marvel was like paired with Nick Fury, and you know you
There's
got
always
all.
one special guest, and it's always a big deal. Like have there be like multiple people and not be a big deal. I don't know. That's kind of what I think.
I mean, I think that's what they're doing. I mean, you know, that they did that. They did that in a little bit, I guess, supposedly in what's it called? The last Thor movie, because you started off with the Guardians of the Galaxy in there, and it is like if you look at it, other than the like new character movies, the rest of them all, you know, like Thor. What was the other one? I guess Widow introduced a bunch of new ones, and that doesn't really count. Um,
I,
what am I missing?
I
This
think
Shang-Chi,
even
Eternals.
Shang-Chi had Wong and Abomination in it. You know, like there was little cameos in that movie. You can't say they weren't.
I'm
Eternals
not saying that,
was.
but I'm saying like let's have like we don't. I'm saying we can forego Avengers title movies and just have it makes no sense to me that they wouldn't call for help on like multiple people. Like that just makes no sense to me. Like bring them in, like loosen the breeze, like let's have multiple people. Like let's get like one or two major characters. I don't know. That's what I think. That's what would happen. And so that's why I think it would be more fun for more and like it would also ease the pressure off, I think, these movies in terms of like, I don't know, delivering. Like, because there could just be more banter and like more like different unique perspectives of characters instead of just one. And I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. But that's just me.
I mean, yeah, they had a lot of the comic books. It just like you know, like especially Spider-Man comics have like you know, like DD just shows up and Human Torch just appears out of nowhere and gives like a little like, hey, here's a thing for a moment, and then I'll see you later, and like you know,
Yeah.
but that's what they're. That's I mean, I'm from what I've heard, that's what they're trying to accomplish with this is they're creating a
this is
street level universe where
this
they're
is the
just going
thing
to all
though.
sort of appear. Echo is going to do that, and Daredevil is going to do that, and like they're building that little mini universe where these characters can just jump around from show to show to show, kind of like what they do with over in CW territory. Like they all just show up whenever they want
Mm.
in random episodes, and they have the big crossovers. But like you know, you'll have an episode of Flash where just Arrow's there. It's not an advertised massive crossover. It's just Arrow's there hanging out, and then you got you know Legends of Tomorrow appear, and then they have the big crossovers later. So yeah, I think they're working towards that, and you were getting it a little by little, and peppering it in here and there,
This
which
is
I'm
like
excited for.
the thing is like this is the criticism is that like how can I say this? One of the problems
Bluntly,
with it is that people find it with so many things that they're putting out on the out there, they're finding it hard to invest in everything, right? They're saying like how does this contribute? They feel there's a need to feel like everything they put out has to like somehow contribute to the overall arching story of what's going on in the Marvel universe in the face, right? Which I think is a
doesn't have to.
ludicrous concept in general to feel like everything has to like affect it in a huge way. It's unsustainable if that was the truth, right? If every little
Mhm.
thing that they put out has to affect the big picture, then it's a false goal in my opinion. It was unsustainable
And
and it doesn't
they
make
did a pretty good job of it for 10 years, man. Like every single movie affected some
every
other
single movie,
movie
every
or
single
affected
show
the
is gonna
overall
affect the main
story.
storyline. Like it's a
They
stupid
did.
fucking goal in my opinion. It's unattainable in the sense that like
I
it's
disagree,
unsustainable.
man.
I
I
think it's
disagree
stupid to try to
completely.
Well,
please. I think it's
regardless if
stupid
I
to
want
try
it
to
or not,
accomplish that goal.
it has proved unsustainable,
It's
especially with
proven
like the
unsustainable, and I think
Eternals.
it's stupid to try to
And
keep doing that. Okay,
yeah, I
to
don't know.
like be like everything is big and everything is huge. They've already said that shit. They've already washed that
I'm
out
not
out the
saying
toilet. Look what happened to the Eternals, dude. Not a single thing has
Yeah.
been mentioned after that
so
because
if they technically they did. If you watch one of the earlier episodes of She-Hulk, there's an article on the iPad saying giant man in one of the caps. Why is no one talking about this? And
yeah,
then right below that they say man with claws caught in bar fight. Like they have acknowledged okay, yes, nobody has said this and talked about it, but like those things matter. Those little behind the scenes moments,
Okay.
just they're
Let me
little
finish
glue.
saying what I was gonna say, dude.
That's the type
Okay,
of
just
thing
can
that
I
I
just
like.
finish
I don't
my
care
thought?
about.
Can I just finish my thought,
No,
dude?
you can't finish your thought. There's
No,
no
but because you've
thinking
been
on this
talking for
show.
like 5 minutes straight, and so I like just want to finish this. Like,
I haven't talked.
what are you talking
Go
about?
on.
You and Dan have been
Go
talking
on.
for like 5 minutes straight, and like I've been trying to finish this thought.
Go
Okay,
on. I'm kidding, guys.
so my point is that like I think it's stupid to try to like reach for that bar and like every little thing that they put out to try to affect. And I think it's stupid for us as an audience to have that high expectation, because it's not realistic. Like with the amount of stuff that they're putting out, and to have every single little thing that they put out affect the big picture and contribute to the big picture. Sure, they can add their tiny little bit if they really want, but like the main, I think, criticism is that people feel like we're sprinkling in cameos in order to make us feel like we all care. Do you know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, instead of like, we want to be invested in this show, and for us to be invested in this show, we want big things that happen, or big things that happen in this movie, so that affects the overarching story of what this big plan is that they have for Marvel and the Marvel universe, right? And this is like the expectation we, for some reason, falsely go into every single project that they put out, right? And do you see how like that expectation ends up creating all these bad like feelings towards what they put out every single time? You're like, okay, why should I give a shit? It has nothing to do with the overarching story. I can't enjoy it, blah. And you're just trying to throw in cameos right now to make me feel like I need to care about this, but none of it is going to affect the big picture. Why can't people just fucking enjoy it? Is my point. Like, why can't you just like let that like forget about how it is connected? It's great when it is connected, and enjoy it when it is connected. Enjoy it when people do come in. But like, why does every little thing that they put out have to affect the big picture of what's going on in their overarching phase plan? Like, and like, well, therefore I'm like not able to enjoy, because like I can't, like they're just destroying the whole Marvel universe with a fourth wall and all this like wokeism. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, man, like, whatever happened to like enjoying the ride and just enjoying like what you're watching and the product they put out, and saying like, this is a good show that they're putting out. You know,
George, like, I have an answer for you, and the answer is they've set the standard now, and that's what people have come to expect. And when something doesn't happen for an extended period of time, people are kind of like, what? But like, where people complain, and if there's nothing we haven't learned. If Disney wants to make money and they want to please their audience in any way possible, and so if a vocal enough audience makes their voices heard saying this wasn't enough, I want more cameos, Disney will respond and give them more cameos.
It's not even an issue of like cameos. I think there a lot of problems that people have with the cameos, especially in a show like She-Hulk, is that they feel like the cameos are just cameos in order to like fake out us and make us want to invest in the show that people for some reason seemingly don't want to give a chance and don't want to invest in, because it's like, why should I care about the show? Do you know what I'm saying? Because it has nothing to do with the main picture. And you're just bringing in cameos because it's like a cheap way for me to feel like it's connected to the larger of the universe. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, token cameos is what they call it.
Well, I think there's some sexism in there, unfortunately. But I also think that your question was, why can't we just enjoy the show for what it is? And the answer is because Marvel raised the bar. The bar has officially been raised. And when the bar gets raised, when it's not met like at least a few times, audiences get upset.
I think my problem with it is like, it seems like there's an unfair standard for the way that the show is being held, and a lot of some of the other shows that are being held compared to like other projects that they put out in this phase.
I mean, look, I think we all know where I stand on majority of this phase has been, I'm just happy to watch this stuff. I am the person who's sitting there being like, I'll just enjoy the show. You know, like I could go back through every one of them, and they're not all great, but I can sincerely say, like, I enjoyed watching Hawkeye. Yeah, was it a good show? Like, it was fine. It wasn't like, this is, you know, like, I think Hawkeye and like that kind of stuff, like there were those little tie-ins that they were doing, but like it was just a show, you know, about a new character essentially becoming, you know, Kate Bishop. And, you know, Moon Knight was your example of like, this is just a show, shut up, we're not tying it in, shut up, you know. And so like that was
it's
their
hard
thing
for them,
and they did
people
it,
like people won't
Shut
give
up,
the show
like
a chance.
Marvel 2022.
Yeah,
Shut
like
up.
people
Watch
won't.
it. It's the
People don't
next
want to
movie.
give it a chance because of that,
But
and I hate it. Like,
I think
why
some
does it
people
have to like?
I
Why
think some people
like?
actually see it differently. I think some people see it as like they don't have faith in the characters. Like that was a lot of
Mm,
some of the flack that like the Captain Marvel movie got is like that that it seemed like they were like, oh my god, this is the first female-led superhero movie that Marvel's putting out, and they paired her with Nick Fury. And a lot of the fans were like, "What? Do they not have faith that Captain Marvel could carry a movie without another character?" Like, and if they didn't write Nick Fury into it, we would have gotten a different movie, and maybe it
Right.
would have been better received, and
But Nyx is a vital part of that
she wouldn't
story
be
now.
yeah,
like
yes. I
she's a
think I see.
she's a part of that story, but like there's other stories where
I think
Nick Fury has
I.
nothing to do with Captain Marvel. So
Yeah, I don't know. I think I see where George is coming from, and I
I do
think
too.
the overall sentiment is like if you stop worrying about all these other side characters and focus all that energy into the core of the story and that character, we might have something better organically created. And that
Yeah,
sentiment I am with. Like I admit I'm
agreed.
a sucker for cameos and stuff, but maybe that is this whole time been watering it down and taking away from what otherwise might have been like a better overall story. I personally think Moon Knight could have used a cameo or two. I don't think it was that great of a show. It was passable. It was okay. But I don't know. I would the cameos taken away from She-Hulk have made this a better show?
I
I don't
think
know. It's hard to say.
this is like the
I
one show where they make sense because she's the
Yeah,
head of superhero law division, so it
right.
makes sense that this is going to be just in and out of just
Right.
random
I
superheroes and
don't
villains and
think
even
these are
low-level
token
ones.
cameos for the sake of token cameos.
No,
I think
Mhm.
they're not.
I think the
They're not.
show is fulfilling a function of like once again we know there's check boxes, they have lists, and I think the show checkboxed a lot of like quote unquote like target audience things that they wanted to do, but I think they also in a way it's become a good vehicle to like how can I say this? It's become a good vehicle to kind of ground some of the other worldly stuff that is like yeah, it's a nice way to kind of deal with the like the hard nuts and bolts and logistics of what it means to be a like superhero or empowered person or whatever, like what it in many ways it makes it feel somewhat realistic by applying this like whole law and like legal aspect to it, right? That like it's a aspect that I think a lot of people probably had questions about, like how does this kind of work, all these things, that nerd who's that kind of guy, excuse me Mr. Lee, like how is this but like all these like logistical questions that a lot of I think nerds might want to try to apply in real life to comic book world and like Marvel universe. This actually kind of like answers a lot of those questions and is a good vehicle for being like, okay, so you want this to be grounded, this is how we're going to ground it, let's make it seem as real and personal and like realistically speaking, let's take Marvel characters and put them in legal situations and like let's see how it fucking plays out, and like this show in many ways has grounded like the Marvel universe in a way that I think they kind of have been missing. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah. No, it
Yeah.
makes sense. I would have
Yeah.
liked to seen like a
Makes
lot
sense.
more of like the aftermath. Like I think that'd be cool if like the second season is like more court stuff in the aftermath of a lot of these like New York battles, like and like all this other stuff that happens, and like what happens when they capture a superhero and throw him in jail. Like there still has to be or a supervillain. There still has to be due process. Like where
Oh
does the
yeah.
line stop for that? Like when do they stop becoming citizens? When do we, that kind of stuff. Are they just going to
I love it
Guantanamo
because
Bay
they like
everybody
just
and who
they let
knows? So
Titania like off on a technicality, You're just like, what the
Yeah.
like what?
And it was
just because like She-Hulk was involved in her arrest, like they let her off on a technicality. Like
Yeah,
she
that was some shit.
and all charges dropped.
Just to backpedal a little bit, I'm curious, George, when have you felt like a character cameo was forced? When was the last time you were like, this person doesn't need to be in this show? Like, this is not moving forward the narrative. This is purely just to like make nerds go blah blah. Like,
You mean in like
I
in
feel
this
like-
show or in general?
Show or movie?
No, it's show or movie Marvel. Show or movie
I have
Marvel.
one.
Tell me. Tell me.
I don't really think
it's
of like I don't like I really some people were critical of Nick being in Captain Marvel. I felt like he was a really good contribution to
I was
it.
fine with it.
Me.
I
Yeah.
really enjoy it. I don't feel like there's a I don't feel like there are situations where like I think most of the cameos, especially in this show, I think some people are wrongly dismissing them as like unnecessary, right? I think everything is actually kind of
everything is tied.
I think it's like the show is the one that needs that. If anything, it makes sense the most out of all of them.
For me, there's only one, and it's funny because it's like one of my favorite cameos to have ever happened, but it also didn't have to happen, and you could have done the scene any number of ways, and it would have been perfectly fine. Was Daredevil in Spider-Man: No Way Home? Didn't need to be there. It was awesome.
Sure.
You just put any lawyer in there, and you can get those things dismissed. It didn't have to be him, but it was good. That was the only like gratuitous cameo that I can think of off the top of my head.
I really don't.
Maybe Abomination, but like that kind of apparently played out here, so that was kind of nice, you know. And
everything
so
had a purpose. Like we saw Charlie Cox, we saw Daredevil because they wanted to let us know that he's in this world.
Well,
you know,
we're all waiting for that because
right, and also we saw Fisk because they wanted us to know that they're in this world, and everything serves the purpose for those cameos.
They all do serve a purpose, but like
they serve their purpose. So
if we're nitpicking, it's like it could have been any lawyer.
I don't really think
story,
there's.
It's not a big deal.
Honestly, off the top of my head, I can't think of any cameos that I thought were gratuitous in that sense. Like I really think that, like I think that a lot of people are just upset with like the way that Marvel has taken it. And I understand the criticism. But with the way that this phase has gone and the way that Marvel has taken the direction of the franchise as a whole, I think a lot of people are upset. I think partially because Marvel, they burned too many bridges and they've wronged people in so many ways. And that's people has left a bitter taste.
All the time.
Yeah, they left a bitter taste.
Some people,
unfortunately,
all of this.
Because they've lost they've lost some people. They have to find other people to add on to that, and that means that they're gonna make shows and create more products that serve different niche audiences and larger audiences and try to appeal to people who may not have given Marvel a chance before or who are kind of like casual Marvel fans,
like I don't think Kate Bishop is like our target demographic, you know what I mean? Like we're not the demographic for
their needs, they're trying to
younger generation, and
there's nothing wrong with
what's
that.
Her name, Miss Marvel, and so they're gaining new fans while other fans will come back for the big shows, so it's
there's
nice.
Nothing wrong
they're not
with that.
losing anybody from this stuff.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with that. And to dismiss the products and to dismiss the stuff like the shows and stuff like that out of hand, like so many quote unquote hardcore Marvel fans have been doing, purely because of these like in my opinion like weak excuses of like, oh, this doesn't affect the larger picture, or oh, these cameos are gratuitous and things like that, is to like do yourself a disservice of like just enjoying the product that is they're putting out. I think like too many hardcore fans let their like quote unquote like pureness and hardcoreness about sticking to like this plan that they have and expectations like get in the way of enjoying what Marvel's doing, because I think they're doing some really special stuff in a lot of these projects, stuff that we haven't seen before, and they are very interesting takes on very interesting different genres that superheroes and Marvel universe haven't done before. So like enjoy that.
Speaking of cameos, I don't think we're gonna get to D23, but I'm gonna do a couple of a little mini cameo, super mini, and it's like a stretch that these would even exist. If we saw that in the end credits, not even because there was no end credit scene for this last episode of She-Hulk. They just didn't do one, and I was like, oh, okay. There's the Georgia logo. I guess it's over now. See you later. The drawings. There's one drawing in particular where that dude he gets the Iron Man 3s and he's holding them up, but like. So that drawing is to imply that this guy actually went and got those shoes, right? That's a part of this story. That's canon to what happened. If you look at all of those shoes, there's a Deadpool, there's a Thing, there's Cable, there's Cyclops, there's a bunch of shoes in the background. And I'm like, these shoes have all been taken from characters that exist now in this universe. It's not a huge deal. You know, we're going to get more of this. We know that all of these characters are coming. It's just fun to see that there's just little acknowledgments
like
of
whether
them.
those post credits drawings are canon or not is like questionable, right? We're like
It is
not
questionable.
Sure. It's like
I mean,
they could
makes
just be
sense,
fun
though,
things.
you know?
It would make sense
They
if
are
they
fun
are, but
things.
I take it with like a grain of salt.
Look, all of these characters are going to exist. We know that. They've announced the Fantastic Four movie. They've announced, you know, they said they're bringing Deadpool in. These are no surprises. So it's just fun little ways to be like, hey, look, we know we're doing it, but look, they're here. We're going to tell you some stories. One last little bit of news. I don't know if this came out of D23 or not. We may get into this tomorrow, but we're on the subject of the cameos, and at the end we saw the Daredevil costume helmet. Which I'm super excited that they're doing the yellow and red because that was like his original costume, and I'm just like a super nerd. I used to own Daredevil #2, whatever. But there was a small announcement that stated, and I believe it was either Charlie Cox or one of the writers was saying that what are they calling it? Daredevil Reborn is not Daredevil season 4. It's Daredevil season 1. Like they're basically rebooting it in a sense.
A soft reboot, like kind of like the Hulk.
Yeah, kind of like a soft reboot, essentially. But like, so maybe like all of that stuff didn't happen, but like, look, it's the same character and same person, but like, they're redoing the story to kind of make it a little bit more. Because let's be honest, like when they did the Defenders, that was not great, and not worth even pretending happened. So wiping the board of some, but maybe keeping some of the others. That's kind of sounds like what they're doing with the like 18 episode Daredevil, which I'm like, oh, we're going old school television, just giving us all of the episodes. I'm fine with that. I've been complaining about these 6-episode bullshits for forever. So,
is there
that's
a cameo and that you one more person that you on top of Daredevil that you wish to be like a guest or somebody you think might show up that we still have not seen
in She-Hulk?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question.
Kind of so many.
A wish, somebody who you kind of suspect they might show later on, but we still haven't seen any.
Are you implying something?
Just in general, like.
Are you leading me towards an answer?
I kind of hope that there's a Jessica Jones cameo.
Sure, that would make sense. All of those,
but I also think that it could be someone small, not small, but someone like a little bit even more random and unsuspecting as well. Like even like a Karen Page cameo or a Foggy Nelson a cameo. Or
those would make sense.
Yeah, like someone in the legal profession, or maybe even Rosario Dawson cameo. Like I'm down, dude. I'm down. That's what I'm saying. Even what's her name? The Detective Knight, Misty Knight. Yeah. Like a random Misty Knight cameo, like because like with Daredevil, it just brings in a lot of people. But then I'm thinking just pure Netflix. But there's even some people who can show up in who are already in the MCU part, the main MCU. You never know.
I mean, you could do all kinds of things. I think
a Julia Louis-Dreyfus cameo at the very end as well.
They're not going to do it, but like you could put Spider-Man in there, obviously because like he's that level hero. They all interact and everything.
That's
like,
that's some huge wishful thinking that would just like
no, but like in the comics they cross paths.
That would blow the show up so much if Spider-Man showed up. I don't know if we would be okay. Like the internet would be ready for that.
No, it's not.
If Spider-Man showed up, I don't know if the world would be ready. Even if like
the narrative
Ned showed up, that would be pretty big.
There is an opportunity for, and I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm just thinking of, again, comic book stuff, but like the Fantastic Four. She-Hulk was at one point part of what I believe is the Future Foundation, which was one point the Fantastic Four plus Spider-Man, but then it became Sue, Jen, Jessica Jones. I'm forgetting someone. It was like a group of women who were the Future Foundation, and we're doing street level stuff and like Avenger class stuff going out into outer space. So there's the possibility that we get like a cameo of Sue Storm or something like that, or who the new who knows if it's going to be what's his name again, Krasinski. Probably not.
No,
You know, I would,
they've confirmed it's not.
yeah, I'm kind of excited that it's not. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love to see him flesh that out a little bit more. But I think there's better chops to take those reins. So who knows?
The
Yeah,
games.
She-Hulk has her hands in every single area. So there's an endless possibility of people that could be on this show.
Fingers and pies.
Yeah, will we get them all? Probably not. We'll get a few more. Probably just the street level stuff. Maybe we'll get like an Echo, or maybe Miss Marvel will pop in there. Kamala for a second. You can get these little things that tie the last several shows together. Kingpin,
Oh, Kingpin.
he could be back in court again. This
Bucky.
kind of stuff. So sure. Yeah, but I know we said we were going to get to D23, but we got a little sidetracked, which is good. We were passionate. We had things to say on this.
I'm sorry, I was
and
angry.
I think they were.
I hope
No,
not.
that's fine, man. Look, you're good. You're good, man.
I'm just
these
upset by people.
things that need
they
to be
enrage
said,
me.
Okay.
I just what I
Safe
get. The
space,
more I
George.
think about it, the more I read people being all upset. Makes me upset. It just.
Hey, look, I'm not upset. You're not upset.
I
Dan
know
might be a little upset.
how you feel, George. I know
but
how you
it's
feel.
I just watch these shows. I watch the movies. I am the kid in the candy store who just still can't believe he's. I'm the kid at Disney for the first time every time I watch these movies.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I can't believe that I'm getting to see this on the big screen again. Like
I just
grew
want
up with
people
this
to be
shit,
able
so.
to enjoy stuff. That's all.
Yeah, well, people suck. So what are you gonna do?
Don't get in the way of enjoying something. Get yourself
Yeah.
out of the way. That's all.
Yeah. I don't think there's much else to say. We're probably gonna have a couple more. We'll do a proper D23 episode, and we're gonna do a proper House of the Dragon episode. And I think I'm stuck on one of those hot takes episodes. I think we're gonna do that sometime next week or the week after. I really want to do that. I will be out of town 1 week, so we'll have to skip one there. But other than that, we have been the Modern Nerd, and thank you for watching.